Hello, welcome to Pro Tips number 55, where today I'll be talking about unauthorized software and how you can find it. Now, unauthorized software, it comes from one of you actually. During one of the events that I was in, somebody came up to me and asked, they said, they already had Lansweeper. They were curious on how they could check compliance, software compliance within their own organization using Lansweeper. Specifically, they have a set list of software that must be installed on each and every single device, and they want to ensure that that software is installed. And on top of that, you could also extend that to saying, okay, can I find software that's not allowed in my organization in some way so that I can prevent it from any software from being installed on any of my devices that is not allowed, basically. So today I'm going to cover that exactly, how you can do that, how you can find software that's allowed, how you can find software that's not allowed, and I'm going to show it in the two different areas, so both on Lansweeper on-prem, in your Lansweeper site, depending on which one you use. So with that, let's jump into Lansweeper on-prem first, and I'll show you how you can do it there. So here in Lansweeper, I am in my default dashboard. Now, Lansweeper on-prem does have a default software dashboard that I'm going to head over to. This isn't default anymore because I've added a couple of reports. I also added a chart that shows me how I'm doing on my software authorization. As you can see, I have a lot of neutral, so a lot of work still to do. But I'll come back to this later. The first thing I want to show is, if you're not aware yet, we do have a software authorization module in Lansweeper on-premise. Now, this will only show you all the software from Windows, so keep that in mind. But for Windows, you have all the software, the publisher, and the number of times that we've scanned it, number of devices that we've scanned it from, basically. And with this, it's very simple. At the end, you have approved, denied, neutral. The gray is neutral. When you click it, it'll go from neutral to approved. And when you click it again, it goes from approved to denied. And you can cycle through that however you want. The idea is that you go through this and you basically set your authorization however you like it, whatever is important for you. And you can use that then to then report on it. So let's head over to the report. So all of this will impact the reporting. So it's important that if you want to do any software authorization, you start with this first. Let's head over to the dashboard once again. The first report that we have is a built-in one. This is software, unauthorized software. This will just give you a list of all the software in your environment that has been unauthorized. Now, if you wanted to change this, you could. Obviously, again, in Lansweeper, I always try and make clear or tell people that in Lansweeper, reports are not finished products necessarily. They're templates for you to start with. Similar to this is a template. It now says unauthorized software. That's based on one specific field. You could duplicate this, edit it, change that number, and you can then see all authorized software or all neutral software, depending on however you want it. But in this case, obviously, it's predefined to being unauthorized software. This just shows you all the unauthorized software, the versions, devices that they're on, so you can take action on them. As I mentioned, you could quickly go into the edit report. And once this loads, I can just scroll to the bottom here. It says the approved field here. 2, it's set to 2. 2 will be unauthorized. 1, I believe, is authorized, and then 0 is neutral. So depending on how you want that, you could just copy this, create a new one, and change that number around to whatever kind of report you want. Heading back to our software dashboard. So this is one way of looking at it. The other report that I've created is unauthorized software per asset. Again, you can adjust this to however you want. The number is still there. It's the same principle. But this time we have the unauthorized software in account. So it gives you the number of unauthorized software packages on that device. You can sort that to find the devices with the most amount of unauthorized software on it. And I'll go to one of these. This one said it had 3 of them. So here I'm in the software view of this asset. If I scroll down, you can even see on the left-hand side here, we do have the same color coding back again, so you can easily identify which software is not allowed or has been denied. And again, you can use that to then take action. Heading back, and there we go. Another report that I've added is looking at it from, again, a slightly different angle. So now you have a good way of finding unauthorized software. You even have a good way of finding authorized software if you adjust those reports. But coming alongside with that is obviously you want to know when new software comes into your environment that you might not have rated yet. Obviously, if you know your numbers here, or if you tag everything as either approved or denied, this chart will also help you with that, because you'll start seeing neutral entries appearing. Another way that that you can do it is with this report, which is the newly discovered software in the last 7 days. Again, if you want that interval to be higher, you can adjust the report. This is just the default that I've set. And this looks specifically at when software was added to the database, but also checks based on name. So this report will work slightly different in your Lansweeper site compared to on-prem. On-prem, I've added a specific condition to check based on name as well, so that it filters out anything that has been previously seen that just might have a version number in the name or something like that, something strange going on with the naming, because in on-premise we don't have software normalization. So in this case, you can see that in the last 7 days, there are new software that we have detected that has been installed. So again, this kind of keeps you aware of what is been added to your environment, and you can immediately check whether you think or whether that falls within your company's compliance or not. Heading back, one last thing that I've added is a missing software report. Now, again, this is a blueprint. I know I'm repeating myself quite a lot. This is a blueprint. You can add any software that you want in here. It's a very basic report. It just shows you the assets and some basic info. You can adjust this as much as you want. If you go into the edit report, again, you can add whatever fields you want, but the important bit here is you'll see here, I've predefined this as Firefox for this example. If you look this report up, it's linked in the blog version, by the way, of the pro tips. It's also, you can easily find it in the report library on our website. This will be something like enter your software here. Basically, you just add whatever software you want to look for here, and you can obviously create multiple editions of that. You just put it and or an or, and you add that on top of it, and you can extend this report however you want to find multiple missing software if you want, or just one specific missing software. But in this case, it's just a list of all of the devices that are missing Firefox software in their list of software. Again, this would be in a case where you know what software needs to be installed in your devices. You just want to make sure that your actual devices that you have in your environment are compliant to your kind of software rules, and that they have all the software that they need. And if this is the first time that you're doing this with Lansweeper and you haven't done this before, this is a good way to quickly find all the devices that are missing critical software, as well as, you can keep this running every so often, so that when new devices enter your environment, maybe they haven't been deployed correctly, maybe some deployments of specific software failed. This is an easy way to kind of catch that, to verify it, and to take action on it later then. Heading back to my software overview here. On top of that, obviously on-prem you have software changes. The software history is enabled in on-prem. That's part of the default report, basically the default dashboard. This alert report widget will be there by default. It won't look the same, obviously, but once you've added your reports that I've listed here that you can find in the blog version, all you need to do is you can click the config button as I just did. And then at the very bottom is a software one, you'll see. And simply here, all you need to do is you can click add report on any of these categories, whether you consider it being high priority, important, or informational. You can choose whether it's color coded or not, and simply add the reports. And that way you get to see, or you get to create an overview, a dashboard that you can open every so often just to check whether your software compliance is there or not. Now, next up, we'll be heading over to sites. I think I've covered everything here in on-premise. So we're going to take a look at the exact same thing, but then in Lansweeper sites. So let's quickly switch over. All right, so here we are in Lansweeper sites. And first thing, I'm going to quickly head over to my software authorization dashboard again. Obviously, it looks quite different here. We do have a default software dashboard here, but this one, it's a preset one, not one that you can duplicate in any way or edit. So you will have to create a new dashboard. And on that new dashboard, again, similar to how we had, how I've just shown you on the on-prem, we have the report overview. I did add some additional things here, like the count of software publishers. And this is the newly software one being added just in a report view instead of it being added to the actual report overview list here with numbers. But the same stuff applies here. So unlike in on-premise, Lansweeper Sites doesn't have a software authorization module where you can specifically identify or click on names or authorize names or things like that. So it's a bit more manual. And let's start with our software or authorized or unauthorized software list here. Again, I know I'm repeating myself quite often, but these reports are designed to be templates for you to play around with. So adjust them however you want to. In Lansweeper Sites, you can quite easily do this. There will always be a duplicate button for you to duplicate it and adjust it to whatever you need. The edit button will be there if you can edit it. You will only be able to edit it once you've duplicated though in most of these scenarios. So this is just like on-prem. This is a view of all the software or all the devices that have software that's unauthorized. As you can see here, it even shows you the software name and then the asset type, whether it's authorized or not, and then some additional information. And I think for this one, if I edit it, and you'll have to do this as well, you can edit this and then adjust whatever you need to adjust to do kind of your software authorization. So unlike doing this in an interface, you'll have to do this in the report itself. Now, I tried to make it as easy as possible for you to do this. So you don't really have to adjust much to the report. There is an option to adjust a lot, but I'll go over that later on. The first thing that you'll need to take a look at is the second step. Now you can see in the second step, it's not very complicated code, but you can see here that I have authorized here, Google Chrome, Edge are authorized. And then if I scroll down further, Firefox has been denied. If it's not in the approved or denied one, it's automatically tagged as neutral. So again, otherwise saying not like in the on-premise, you have to do it all here in this specific report. So you have to find your software names. Luckily, since in Lansweeper Sites, it is normalized all the software names are much easier. So you don't have to worry about things like languages being added to software names or versions or architecture being added to software names. Just the software name should do. And you can add that either in the approved or in the denied one, and all the rest will automatically be tagged as neutral. Now, I will show you in a second how you can get these names easier, but other things in this report, obviously you can add as many fields here as you want. Just be aware that if you add any additional fields at the top that you want to use for filtering, for example, later on, you will also have to quickly add them here at the top of the second step. Now, you can quite easily do that. If you just check the code of the first step, it will show you the names of the fields, and then it's just a copy-paste job. Just make sure that all the names of the fields are also listed here in the second step. Once you've done that, you can start filtering. I already have here a filter on denied. You can change this to approved, to neutral. You can add additional filters to this one here if you wanted to. For example, I think I added one here for domain role, which domain role, for the ones of you that are less familiar with the reporting, the domain role of an asset will let you easily filter on whether on servers or desktops, because I believe that servers have a value of 1 of higher in this, and then desktops have a 0. So you could say then this is equal to and then 0, and that should then filter it on only desktop machines, Windows desktop machines. Again, you can do this however, you can add whatever filters you want to this to make it more specific. And then the last field here is just to remove potential clutter. If you want to remove certain fields that you've only used for filtering, you can then remove them here, but the filtering will remain because the filtering is done in the second step. So that's just a quick run through of the report. Again, the most important bit here is just getting these software names. Now, talking about these software names, how do you get them? Because they are specific. There's no wildcards here to kind of catch any of that. But we do have software normalization. So I'm going to head over to the software area here, where you'll just get an overview of all the software within your environment. It should already be normalized. And if you just want to quickly get software names, you can either use our custom views, so you can do filtering here to add specific conditions, etc., and save it as a custom view. Or you can use the sorting. And by sorting on any of the columns here, and I'll remove the name one, just so that I can sort on the software with the most number of installations. And then that's already gives you, generally speaking, that will probably give you already a pretty good view of software you should approve. Now, how do you select these names? It's not easily copy pastable here. I mean, you can obviously select it and copy and paste it. But to make it a bit more or a bit easier, you can also simply export it. You can export it to a CSV or an Excel file. And then all you would need to do is then copy those names. You can easily copy all the rows basically once you have that exported, and then you can paste it into that report code. You just got to make sure that it adheres to the formatting, so that there's quotes around the software name and that you have a comma as well. But you can either add those things in Excel if you know how to, if you're a bit savvy with Excel. You could even do, if you wanted to, you could even throw that into like a chat GPT and say like, hey, this list of software, please add quotes around it and a comma behind it, and it will do it for you. So whatever you want to do, whatever way method works best for you, you can use it, and you can then add it to the reports. So let's head back to the dashboards. Software authorization, here's my dashboard again. Then, again, similar thing with the on-prem. I added a report here, a cloud version or a site version of the unauthorized software per asset. Again, this is just for you to be able to prioritize, basically, and get a view of which devices might be at the most risk because they have the most unauthorized or most denied softwares installed on them. Again, you can adjust this however you like. Set back to then we have two different types of new software. The first one here, new software added in the last 7 days. This relies purely on the added date, so when it was added to the database. And you can see here, a bunch of software has been added, and you can use this to discover what new software has been installed in your environment recently. Again, it's for you a trigger to check whether it's allowed or not and whether it's in the approved list or not. Going back, the second one that's here is new software installed. So the difference between these two reports is one looks at the added date and one looks at the installed date. Now the installed date, depending on which one you want to use, the install date isn't always populated. It's not as, I would say, not as reliable. Also, install date will only be available, or for the most part will only be available for Windows. So there are some limitations to that, which is why I created the other report, the added one, which encompasses more software and is, I would say, generally speaking, is probably the better one to use. I added some additional ones in here as well. One that I didn't add is the missing one, but we can take a look at it in a second. Looking at the dashboard itself, something I haven't covered yet. Obviously, you can, when you create a new dashboard, you can add any of these widgets however you want. You can reshape them however you want. To add them, it's simply a plus. And then here is the report overview one that you can add. And I've added there's a default software one, which again, you cannot customize, but I added a new overview and then named that software custom. And you can even click on the edit there and you can see here what reports I added. Maybe I can add the missing software one here first. Now, assets missing software, add report, asset missing software, there it is, apply and save. and that should then save it, and you can see it's been added here. Now, obviously I have it twice now because I added the new widget, but I can delete this one. There we go. And you can add whatever widget you want in here in whatever order, whatever formatting that you want. And then let's save it as well. Obviously, when you first save this dashboard, it will also ask you if you want to share it to everyone or not. You can see here by the sharing icon, I've shared it with everyone. You can choose to share it with individual accounts or whatever you want. But that aside, similar to on-prem, I created a missing software report as well. So let's head into that one. And again, similar to how the previous report worked with the software authorization, this does rely on you manually entering the software. It's similar to on-prem because there you also have to do it. Because if you scroll down, again, here I've added Google Chrome and Edge. These are two software that it's looking for, that if any of these are missing, then it will show up in the results. And again, you can customize this report however you want, add additional fields, add additional filters, whatever it might be. Just make sure that you leave some of the bottom steps, I guess, are the more important ones, where it does the grouping and then the sum to check whether something, whether you do have unauthorized software or not. But that being said, that's how you can find assets with missing software. So that probably should have software that you want installed on it. Close that. Back to the software authorization overview. There's no chart in Lansweeper sites, unfortunately, just yet. We only have the pre-built charts for now. So I haven't been able to make a chart here, but this will allow you, all these tools hopefully will allow you to be more compliant, or at least check compliance of your own organization's software compliance, so that you can see which devices have software that's not allowed on it, which devices are missing software. You can keep an eye on new software that's coming in. So there's plenty of stuff there, plenty of reports here, I hope, for you to use and to check whether, to ensure that you're compliant with your software compliance within your organization. And with that being said, I think I've covered everything on software compliance or software authorization that we have to offer at the moment. So I hope this has been useful for you. I hope you can use this to better monitor your software compliance. And with that, I will bid you farewell and see you in the next Pro Tips.